సో ఈ ఫోటో ప్రపంచంలో ఎన్నో డెమోక్రసీస్కి పునాది. నమస్కారం అందరికీ. మరి ఈరోజు నేను తీసుకొచ్చింది సౌత్ ఆఫ్రికాలోనే వెరీ ఇంపార్టెంట్ ప్లేస్ సోవేటో, సౌత్ వెస్టర్న్ టౌన్షిప్. ఈ టౌన్షిప్లో ఆల్రెడీ రాజకీయ పరంగా కానీ, విద్యాపరంగా కానీ, స్పోర్ట్స్ పరంగా కానీ వన్ ఆఫ్ ది ఫేమస్ ప్లేస్ ఇన్ సౌత్ ఆఫ్రికా. సో ఎలా చెప్తారంటే, ఇఫ్ సోవేటో స్నీజెస్ ద హోల్ కంట్రీ క్యాచెస్ ఫ్లూ అన్నట్టుగా మనం ఆల్రెడీ విన్నాం. ఓకేనా? సో ఆ విధంగా ఆలోచిస్తే ఇక్కడ ఈ సోవేటోకి ఇంత పేరు ప్రఖ్యాతలు రావడానికి కారణం ఈ పర్టికులర్ పర్సన్ హెక్టర్ పీటర్సన్ ఎందుకు అంత ఫేమస్ అయ్యాడు. కిలింగ్లో జరిగినట్టు కొన్ని ఈవెంట్స్ హెక్టర్ పీటర్సన్ మెమోరియల్ ఏర్పాటు చేయడానికి ఎలా దారితీశాయి, అట్ ది సేమ్ టైం అసలు హెక్టర్ పీటర్సన్ మెమోరియల్ అసలు ఏముంది, అసలు దీని స్టోరీ ఏంటి, ఇదంతా కూడా తెలుసుకోవడానికి ఇక్కడికి వచ్చాను. సో ఇది మ్యూజియం, కాకపోతే మ్యూజియం ఇది 2 స్టోరీ బిల్డింగ్. కొన్ని ఈవెంట్స్ మనకు కనపడుతున్నాయి అక్కడ ఏం జరుగుతుంది ఏంటన్నది. కాకపోతే ఇట్స్ కంప్లీట్లీ క్లోజ్డ్ ఫర్ నౌ. సో మేము ఇప్పుడు ఈ గైడ్ని కలవబోతున్నాం. గైడ్ మనకి అన్నీ ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేస్తారు ఏం జరిగింది ఏంటో. ఈ పిక్చర్, ఈ ఫోటో ప్రపంచంలో ఉన్నటువంటి ఫోటోల్లో వన్ ఆఫ్ ది మోస్ట్ ఐడియలిస్టిక్ ఫోటో. ఓకే, వన్ ఆఫ్ ది మోస్ట్ ఇంపాక్ట్ఫుల్ ఫోటో అని చెప్పొచ్చు. ఎందుకంటే ఇతను హెక్టర్ పీటర్సన్. దిస్ ఇస్ ద బాయ్ దట్ యాక్చువల్లీ వాజ్ షాట్ డెడ్. ఇతను షూట్ చేశారు. ఈమెమో అతని సిస్టరు. హీ వాజ్ ఏ పాసర్ బాయ్. సో ఎప్పుడైతే షూట్ చేశారో ఈ వాజ్ స్టిల్ అలైవ్, యాజ్ యూ కెన్ సీ. సో ఇతను పిక్ చేశాడు. హీ పిక్డ్ హిమ్ అప్. హీ వాజ్ ఇన్ ఎ ప్యానిక్ మోడ్. ద సిస్టర్ వాజ్ ఇన్ ఎ ప్యానిక్ మోడ్. హెక్టర్ పీటర్సన్ ఈజ్ ఇన్ ఎ వెరీ డేంజరస్ సిచ్యువేషన్. సో ఈ ఫోటో ప్రపంచంలో ఎన్నో డెమోక్రసీస్కి ఇక్కడి నుంచి ఇక్కడ ఉన్నటువంటి గవర్నమెంట్ మీద ఫుల్ ప్రెషర్ ఏర్పడటం జరిగింది. ఈ ఫుల్ ప్రెషర్ వల్ల సౌత్ ఆఫ్రికాకి 1994లో డెమోక్రసీ వచ్చింది. సో దిస్ పిక్చర్ యాక్చువల్లీ లెడ్ టు సౌత్ ఆఫ్రికన్ ఇండిపెండెన్స్. కెన్ వి సే దట్? Yes, we can say that confident. So this is the importance of this picture.
Come to the Hector Pieterson Memorial Site. My name is Mkolisi.
Okay, Mkolisi.
So back in 1948, shortly after the apartheid regime got into power, they introduced about 150 laws which were designed specifically to oppress the black African. So what they did, they looked at what happened in Australia with the Aborigines, what happened in Germany during the Holocaust, what was happening throughout slavery, and then they took bits and pieces of all of those human indignities and came up with the policies of apartheid. And then there was the challenge of the generation of the likes of Ahmed Kathrada, Nelson Mandela, Robert Sobukwe, and other prominent struggle icons, that they were academics and intellectuals. So they kept on challenging and pushing back on the policies of the day.
Okay.
So then the government decided to downgrade the education system. That happened in 1953.
Okay.
When Bantu education was introduced.
Okay.
So as a black child, you'd go to school and get taught domestic work. Things like cooking, cleaning, ironing, gardening, so that eventually you work as part of the cheap labor force. The only access to equal education you'd get to that at that time was through missionary schools.
Okay.
And then the schools in Soweto realized that this is unfair. They wanted equal opportunities, but then the government said, okay, in 1975 we are going to introduce mathematics, science and other subjects, but there would be a condition to introduce Afrikaans to become the medium of instruction.
That's correct.
Firstly, the teachers didn't get any training to teach in the language. Secondly, the language was associated with the language of the oppressor.
That's correct.
But because it was a better opportunity, the students tried their best to learn in the language. Unfortunately, on the first, second and third term, they failed dismally, leading up to the end of 1975.
Okay.
Whereby over 98% of the students
failed.
Yes.
Okay, and the teachers were black teachers, but the mode of education was in Afrikaans.
Yes.
That resulted in lots of people failing,
Yes.
pupil failing, and that actually culminated in a kind of dissatisfaction amongst the black children and also the parents.
Yes.
That's what you say.
Even the teachers decided
Teachers.
to resign
Okay.
to go teach in the different parts of the SADC. Okay, so what the students did, the senior school students, because remember the education system was like on the junior levels, which back then was Form 1, Form 2, Form 3,
Okay.
which is grade 8 up until grade 10.
Okay.
So then they decided to have a meeting on the 1st of June, on the 13th of June at Orlando Communal Hall,
Okay.
whereby the students discussed and agreed that they are going to be marching against Afrikaans as a medium of instruction and against Bantu education.
Okay.
So their plan was to go to Orlando Stadium. From the stadium they would have a rally and draft a memorandum against Afrikaans as a medium of instruction.
Okay.
But unfortunately the students never got to reach their destination.
Okay.
So on the morning of June 16 in 1976, about 600 students started to march 7 kilometers away from the site.
Okay.
They were coming this direction,
Okay. That's streetwise.
yes,
Okay.
passing other schools and secondary schools, collecting
Okay.
each other.
Okay.
When they got to the corner, they turned right,
Okay.
going in that direction. So they wanted to go past in solidarity of the first school that boycotted classes. It's called the Line of Fire,
Okay.
or the firing line.
This.
So these trees that you see here, these are planted across. Maybe you're familiar with trees.
Okay.
Can you recognize them, maybe?
This tree.
Yes.
I don't know.
So these trees are called wild dry olive trees.
Yeah, olive tree. Yeah, you're right. It's a olive tree. Yeah.
Yes. So
yeah,
the
yeah.
olive branch is a symbol of peace.
Huh.
They were suggested to be planted by the late statesman Nelson Mandela when he said you should forgive but never forget. So Nelson Mandela, as an example, planted the first.
What happened after 1976? After this incident? Okay.
So other parts of the country started to believe that there's actually something that could be done, leading up to other parts starting to have different revolts, like being hopeful, also sacrificing more because of seeing the students laying their lives like that, made them actually understand the impact. Even leading up to, like with the education system, when you got into the democratic elections, it was equal now. Currently, no school in Soweto teaches in Afrikaans.
So what changes did apartheid government do after this 1976 uprising?
There was actually a crackdown instead of
Okay.
a change. There were more killings. They're trying to suppress the movement, but it was too much. That's why it led to the state of emergency in the early 80s, eventually leading up to them setting up.
Are there any people that you know who are still waiting for their loved ones to come back?
So
Who disappeared in 1980s?
some people are still hopeful because
Okay.
you can never actually lose hope with your family or loved one.
Okay.
But most of them, they actually, I think it's more of like a painful experience. So knowing or not knowing, if that's why they formed the TRC,
Yeah.
so that the most of the cops actually point out those places. But unfortunately, some never came forward. Like the example with Mbusa Makulu. Surely by now, you would have seen his image all over the world.
Yeah.
Or somebody who knows
Even
him
himself.
would have seen,
Even himself would have seen it in Nigeria.
But,
He never
looking
came
at-
forward.
Yeah.
Probably he was scared for his life.
Chances are
again.
they intercepted the letters
Okay.
and then they found out where he was in Nigeria.
Yeah,
Because
just that they couldn't track him down.
yes,
Like,
the security forces maybe killed him.
it's possible, yes. So, but to your knowledge, I think now you have lots of knowledge about
Yeah.
apartheid system and how it worked out and so on and so on. How many people would have been missing?
I think the number was well over like hundreds, because some families never came forward because of they were fearing. Because if you did something that had to challenge or had to do with the security forces, it actually endangering your life. Because also one of the parents, when she came back from work, it was dark at that time in Soweto. So she quickly went on, put her bags inside her house, and then she ran outside to go look for her son. And then when she came back, there was a stench, thinking that there was a dead dog on the outside, only to find out that that was her son.
So, yes.
So that traumatic experience
Of all that
of
stuff.
being able to do that and see that, and other families, when they were hearing that their students were wanted, they would like ship them off to exile, other students ran off without even telling their parents and their families. So they never.
Because when they were tracked,
Yes.
because they
then-
know that they will endanger the family.
Yes.
That's why they want to just run away.
Just to
Because
run.
now tell me, I don't have this clue. How would the movement or the revolutionary leaders would run away to other countries? How would they go to exile
So
without
they-
the knowledge of the security forces?
So because of they were being helped by even different parts of the world.
Oh, really?
So they were getting support from other countries which were using their resources to actually. They were also using like with the connections of the military wing.
Yeah.
So once they formed Umkhonto Wesizwe, also the PAC had their one which was Oko. So they were like actually systems but to put
Okay,
in
that
place.
was underground working.
Yes, that were
Okay,
working.
so that means I'm talking about Mbuyiseni, that the guy,
yes.
1976, 16th of June, he was in Soweto, but he ended
Days
up in
after.
Nigeria. You get me?
Yes.
That means the revolutionary forces, they were tracked down.
Yes.
They know where was he in Soweto,
Yes.
and they actually kind of not abducted,
Yeah.
but slightly
Yes.
moved him out of the
Yes.
country. That's what you're saying.
Which was the PSC. They the
Okay,
ones
PSA,
that gave
Pan
him-
African
Yeah,
Congress.
They gave him the scholarship to go to study in
okay,
Nigeria.
okay,
So most of them, because we had different like secret branches
okay.
in terms of the participation. That's why sometimes what the apartheid regime would do,
Mm.
they would replicate the house number with the same street address into 5 other locations to make it difficult for people to move around.
Mm.
Because of that house, for example, was an active house towards the liberation and during the struggle. Secondary and high school students. But the young ones, what they saw, that what is happening, the singing, the chanting, you know, so it ended up having huge
That actually shows us something in a way that even the children at that tender age were feeling the impact of apartheid.
Yes.
Get me? It
Yes.
could be poverty. It could be unequal opportunities. It could be
Yeah.
lack of social grants.
Because they're also seeing how their parents were being impacted
Exactly.
and affected
Exactly.
because of this like the poor wages, and also looking at the frustration that they were, especially the males. That's why the regime also built like beer halls next to the
Just to
train
divert
station.
them out
Next
of
to the
this
train
thing.
station.
Yeah.
So after getting a small paycheck on that
They will go
Friday,
there.
just go to the beer hall there. When as soon as you get off the train, you're frustrated from the abuse, from the torture, even all the treatment that you enjoy when you're at work.
Exactly.
By the time you go home, yeah, now you're drunk. Now there's abuse happening in the society. So it was also a way to destabilize the family structure, to break it apart,
Yeah.
leading up to some of the issues that we're facing today.
Yeah.
So the system in its entirety, I think,
Okay.
if it was planned or thought of in a positive way, we could be far as a country, because it was very powerful. It's still powerful. Still have some of its elements being able to influence how society lives, especially in the township that we know as so.
That really surprises me. I don't think, to my knowledge, I checked history. After this 1976 uprising, nowhere in the world they would have seen children or a high school or a secondary grade children protesting against any government.
Yeah.
I don't think I have seen
Yes, I
in
think
any country.
it was actually like something that was a turning point
Yes.
in terms of also looking at the different democracies across the world.
Yeah, I haven't seen.
So that's why the world was able to actually think of a louder voice, because of they hadn't seen that happening in their own countries. Yes.
Okay, no, it was very informative. You explained everything to us. You actually brought the scene back to reality in a way that we could actually re-visualize what happened on that deadly day.
My interest started off by actually being born and bred and raised in this community.
ఈ వీడియోలో మరి ముఖ్యంగా సౌత్ ఆఫ్రికన్ ఇండిపెండెన్స్కి, సౌత్ ఆఫ్రికన్ ఫ్రీడమ్కి, సౌత్ ఆఫ్రికన్ డెమోక్రసీకి లీడ్ చేసినటువంటి సిచ్యువేషన్స్ అన్నీ కూడా మన వీడియోలో తెలుసుకున్నాం. సో ఎట్ ద సేమ్ టైమ్ హెక్టర్ పీటర్సన్ మెమోరియల్ అన్ఫార్చునేట్లీ క్లోజ్డ్, బట్ ద హిస్టరీ సరౌండింగ్ దిస్ ప్లేస్ అంతా కూడా మనం కవర్ చేస్తాం. సో నేను చేసిన వీడియో కనుక మీకు నచ్చితే షేర్ చేయండి, లైక్ చేయండి, సబ్స్క్రైబ్ చేయండి. ఇలాంటి మోర్ ఇంట్రెస్టింగ్ అండ్ ఇన్ఫర్మేటివ్ వీడియోస్ మీరు చూడాలనుకుంటే కనుక ఖచ్చితంగా నా ఛానల్ సబ్స్క్రైబ్ చేయడం వల్ల ఏంటంటే నేను మోర్ ప్లేసెస్ని ఎక్స్ప్లోర్ చేయడానికి వీలు. సో థ్యాంక్ యూ అగైన్, సీ అగైన్ ఇన్ ద నెక్స్ట్ వీడియో. బాయ్.